I haven't checked my front door much. You did that.
Next is
You did that.
What's the?
next is
Right
organization.
here.
That's where that's where you select the.
Yeah. No, I hadn't seen that. Maybe they just want to shy away from it. 'Cause I'm tucked in the woods a little
Date
bit.
and time you're
Even
sworn in.
though I'm in the city, you can't see my house. from
Possibly,
168.
if I remember.
You gotta go on Virginia, and even then, it's like, where's the front door?
It's a short one.
So-
It's not very long.
In a way, I avoid a lot of stuff showing
No,
up on my
no
house. Somebody's got pretty
action will be
dedicated.
taken on any items. There won't be any business items.
This was on.
Yeah.
You don't need to.
Just the first and third Monday at 7 will be it.
Yeah, right here, we're not. We're with it.
Yeah, but you weren't at that one because you got appointed. Because what's his face resigned.
This is this is the kind of stuff that.
I think the big copy paper box scared him off.
And
Me too.
I had a very successful meeting with Nancy. My 3 minutes last morning.
See any money?
10, 9. Everybody gets 3 minutes.
I defy anybody
I gotta get out of here.
to not vote for something like
Barry's babysitter.
that. You guys ready? Oh, yeah, I guess we're ready.
I'd like to call the City of Ferrisburg Council meeting to order tonight, Monday, November 4th, 2019, 7 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mayor Hop.
Here.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Here.
Councilmember DeWitt. Here. Councilmember Twa.
Here.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
Here.
Councilmember Carlson.
Here.
Councilmember Blease. Here.
At this time, invocation will be given by Councilmember Twa, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Loving Heavenly Father, we come to you this hour asking for your blessing and help as we gather together. We pray for guidance in the matters at hand and ask that you would clearly show us how to conduct our work with a spirit of joy and enthusiasm. Give us the desire to find ways to excel in our work. Help us to work together and encourage each other to excellence. We ask that you would challenge each other to reach higher and further to be the best that we can be. We ask this in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God.
At this time on the agenda is for public comments. It's for any citizen to direct brief comments or questions to City Council. Time for public comments will be given when an agenda item is discussed. If you have a comment or question, please raise your hand to be recognized by the mayor. After being recognized by the mayor, please stand, give your name and address for the record. Proceed with your comment or question. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Yes, sir. Please step up to the podium.
Good evening, city officials and city representatives. I'm Ryan Butler. My address is 16237 Suffolk in Ferrisburg. And I want to start by saying that I've really enjoyed hearing the insights of the engineers from Flies and Vandenbrink on the topic of investigating Smith's Bridge. I'm sure it's partially because I'm a licensed professional civil engineer myself. And although bridges is not my specialty, I can tell you that in their various fields, whether it be soils, structures, roads, water, wastewater, all licensed civil engineers have a moral and ethical obligation as servants to the public. It's a duty we take very seriously. I don't think you'll find many of us who say, we entered the profession on account of financial status or low demands or low stress of the occupation. Neither one of those areas traditionally represents the profession in a lucrative fashion. Rather, we enjoy fixing things or building things, not for self-pleasure. I think it's safe to say that the percentage of civil engineers who actually touch or use their finished products is very low. We go to where the needs exist, and it relatively often is not within our backyard. When you're a consulting engineer, as are the two gentlemen from Flies and Vandenbrink who've been representing their company here, I'm not saying there's no financial incentive for going after a project. Everyone needs to make a living. But that's the duty of a consulting engineer. I just hope we can get past the accusations of being greedy for an open checkbook, as I believe was wrongly suggested at the last meeting, and focus on the fact that we have someone representing their profession and presenting professional opinions to help our community. Let's listen to the professionals, give them a shot to showcase their talents and state-of-the-art technology. That's what they're here for. That's what they're here for and suggesting. Let's not be left wondering what could be if we don't take advantage of a seemingly economical situation and solution. Thank you.
All right, any other public comment? Yes?
Lisa Royce, 17700 Navajo. I have a couple things to address. First, there's been a lot of, I've been out of the country for the last month, which was actually really nice. I've had some people contact me about some flyers that were going around, and Mayor Hopp, your flyer suggested that you were instrumental in getting the Facebook meetings on Facebook, and that was initiative of the citizens. Sandy and myself and
Decided we live streamed, so council voted on live streaming council meetings, and they are out on YouTube.
right, but it would have been nice to give the citizens that actually brought it up and worked on it for 3 years to get it that way to be on there. We've spent hours and hours and hours making sure that would happen. So then I guess on that note, then we need to work on getting the microphones so we can actually hear what the council says during the meetings when they're being live streamed like we've asked for. So I just wanted to clear that up because we worked really hard on making sure that all the citizens in Ferrisburgh got to see and hear what happened at those meetings. So I do take that a little bit. And then my second point was to Mr. O'Donnell. You actually tried to silence a tax-paying citizen, and that was myself, and tried to, Mr. DeWitt and yourself made a motion and second to silence me with prejudice at a meeting that I couldn't be at, and I contacted Craig and told him I was out of town, and you actually tried to stop me from bringing an issue that I have. Well, that is not your position at City Council to do that. And I just, if you listen to everybody, then whether you like what I say or not, it should still, you need to listen. You don't have to agree with me, I don't have to agree with you, but I mean, that was an issue. And when you say you listen to everybody, you didn't. So I take offense to trying to silence a citizen for bringing up issues to council. Also, today I was in and I asked about bringing for poll watching and challenging. It said that I asked Marianne about cell phones, because if you're sitting in there for a while, and what the website says, but it was at 2008, and that's the reason why I asked. It said you can have a phone in there as long as it's not disruptive. So is there a new state thing out there that you can't have a cell phone?
The state will allow a silent cell phone to be in the precinct. However, if it becomes disruptive, I will ask for it to be removed.
Right. So I'm just saying, if I had it in there, if I have a phone call that I might have to take, if I have it through a headphone thing and it doesn't ring out there, that I can get up and walk out and answer it.
You're gonna have to get up and walk out
Okay.
because you're not allowed to converse with
Okay.
anybody in there.
That's what I just want to know, because I'm waiting for a call for tomorrow and I don't want to miss it.
Yeah, you'd have to step out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Jonas, did you have your hand up earlier? I did. Okay.
Roger Jonas, 16038 Harbor Point Drive, Spring Lake. I forgot to give my address last time. I remembered this time. I'm going to change gears on you a little bit, and that is tomorrow on the ballot, we also have something else on there besides just voting for candidates, and that is whether compensation for council and mayor should be increased by a modest amount. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to vote yes on it. And let me tell you why. It's modest, first of all, would council would go up to $20 a week, which in my opinion is not even worth your, doesn't pay for your time, but in its necessity, second of all, it's not a reward for good behavior, it's not a reward for bad behavior, it's a reward for behavior. I respect anybody who wants to run for office, puts their name out there, puts the time in, and is willing to serve because it's as we've all come to know, it's a thankless position. Those of us who are on appointed boards, you know, we can get away with a lot more because we're appointed. But anyway, we've got 2 council members that not running again, and I've served with both of you on the planning commission, and we don't always agree all the time, but we agree to be civil, and I appreciate the time, I appreciate your time given here tonight too. So we're gonna have two new council members come tomorrow night, at least 2. Now, wait, at least 2. And I just hope that the 2 new council members will learn how our city functions, government functions, and go through, take all the classes that are available through the county, through the Michigan Municipal League, and because there's a lot more. I thought I knew, I was pretty smart at it, but there's a lot to know at all levels of government, so I would appreciate you taking the time to do that and get immersed in this whole thing. The city of Ferrysburg is fairly complex. Look at the map over there. I was just talking about that earlier with one of the candidates here. And we're a very unique place, and I got to get to know this city and find out there's a whole lot more to it than parks and bridges and goats and all that other stuff, good stuff too. So good luck to everybody tomorrow, and everybody get out and vote. And I'm going to vote for it. $1,750 is what the difference is between what council and mayor are getting paid now and what that would amount to for the city. Peanuts. So therefore, when they get their check, they could look at it and say, did I earn that for the city of Ferrysburg, citizens of Ferrysburg? Did I earn that or not? That's the way I look at it. Thank you.
Heather Hawley, 17915 Mohawk Drive. So tonight I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you to Tim O'Donnell for his service on City Council for the last 4 years, but that tomorrow he won't be getting my vote. You met with my mother on September 29th, 2017, in which she recorded your conversation regarding the Ferrysburg Nature Preserve, as I'm sure you remember. You told her that, quote, there is a special interest group, quote, they want to preserve the Ferrysburg Nature Preserve, which is basically a publicly owned private playground. You had nothing to work with the residents that came forward to fight for it. You were on the council that decided to let us petition to get the charter amendment put on the ballot when council could have voted to do so. You told her that, quote, one of the problems is it is unethical for me to come out and state that I support this group because by definition they are a special interest group. We are also the citizens you represent, Tim. You told her, quote, they are led by Regina Schoberg, who is a council member, end quote. Which again, we didn't even know Regina until this all came about. So just because Regina worked with the citizens doesn't mean she led our group. Now fast forward 2 years and we are going through the same scenario with the bridge. Council votes to close the bridge and then you have residents come forward requesting a second opinion and council makes them raise the $200 to pay for it. Seems like once again, council could have taken this recommendation by the people they represent and request a second opinion. But again, many on this council, current council, including you, seem to always want to work against the people you represent. I can't believe some of the posts I see on Facebook between current council and the residents. And again, it's just a different group of residents, or as you call it, a different interest group. Either way, we are the people you represent. Unfortunately for you, the 2 interest groups in the city are coming together, and I hope we are heard tomorrow when we vote for William Montgomery, write-in candidate Jerry Sias, and write-in candidate Debbie Murdoch for Ferrysburg City Council.
Any additional public comments? Yes.
Hello, Jerry Sias, 325 Beach Street, Spring Lake, Michigan. I'm a write-in candidate, and I'm here tonight just to thank all the candidates for putting themselves out there to run for city council. I know it's not an easy thing to do, and I believe that it's been an honorable and mostly honest race, and I want to thank you for that. And I'd also like to give a special thank you to all of the citizens that have put their time and effort to volunteer for candidates, to go knock door to door, and to provide literature for us. It's been a great help, and I'd like to thank you all and wish you all good luck tomorrow in tomorrow's race.
Additional public comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to our agenda. Item number 6. Consideration for approval of consent agenda. A, approve the October 21, 2019 City Council meeting minutes as printed, and B, approve the Mayor's Proclamation recognizing School of Choice Week, January 26 to February 1st, 2020.
So moved.
Motion support. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor stating aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Moving down to new business. Councilmember DeWitt, you needed to add, would like to add to
Your
the,
Honor, I'd like to add a item to the agenda. You can put it where you want. I understand we have special people here tonight. We have a proposal possibly from American Roads Overview, Smith's Bridge option. I would like to discuss that and perhaps have city staff investigate this further.
okay. We can add that on to 7-1, since we have a special guest representing item number A, or letter A on our agenda.
So A1?
And the, is the council okay with adding that? Yep, okay. So we'll add the American Roads to letter A1. So moving down to 7A, discussion, take action if appropriate to adopt a resolution supporting Lake Michigan recreational fishing and an update of Michigan's commercial fishing regulations. And we have a special guest, Mr. Zelenka. Like to step up, please?
Yes, my name is Paul Zelenka. Actually, I live here in the area, and I'm the president of the Grand Haven Steelheaders chapter and a board member of the Michigan Salmon and Trout Fishing Association. I believe I can pass one of these down. Currently up and down the lakeshore from St. Joe all the way up to Traverse City on the west side of Lake Michigan. The local chapters of the Steelheaders and other sportsman groups have been asked to go to the local communities to look to adopt a resolution in support of House Bills 45, 67, 68, and 69. Several have already adopted this, and I've included an example from South Haven for the adoption of the resolution. Park Township has, I know it's on the docket with Holland, Grand Haven, or soon to be on Grand Haven, excuse me. Grand Rapids is also doing it. Ludington, it's on the docket for Muskegon as well. In a nutshell and a summary, those three bills look to update the terminology, clarify the authority, and look at the commercial fishing structure. And probably biggest is to affirm the current commercial fishing species and sport fishing species. This will also improve the state model for the upcoming consent decree with the 5 Michigan tribes, which is expires next year. So they're just getting started with that. So basically what it is on those 2 species is to keep lake trout and walleyes as sport fishing species and not to go to commercial species, which would allow commercial fishing to go back to fishing gill nets, basically the only commercial viable way to fish lake trout. So basically it just keeps it the same as we currently have it. especially the Tri-Cities area is probably one of the premier ports for sport fishing in the state of Michigan. Definitely within the top 3 or 4 ports, Ludington, Muskegon, Grand Haven, and brings in nearly $30 million to the Michigan economy and close to 1.4 million public anglers. We're second only to the state of Florida for the number of anglers, recreational anglers that we have, and we would like to get the support of municipalities up and down the lake shore to continue to protect the species that we have, the investment through hatcheries, planting, and everything else, that it not be disruptive. So I've included in that packet a template for the resolution that South Haven has done. Park Township has also done it in that manner, and I have provided to Mayor Hopp the templates for that, so he can substitute the city of Ferrisburg and board members where appropriate. So I put it out there for your consideration, and I can take any questions that anyone might have.
Yes.
The charter fishing rules and regulations as they currently stand will not be changed?
No, these would not be changed. What it primarily does is clarifies language in those three bills, clarify existing language, and keeps the commercial fishing species and sport fishing species the same as they are right now. Does not change any catch limits, bag limits, anything like that. So at this time, it just updates and basically says keep it the way it is.
Hearing none, all those in favor stating aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much. Moving down to 7A1, American Roads and Toll Bridge. This is what Councilmember DeWitt.
Craig,
Yes.
could you elaborate on this a little bit? I mean, city council's had the packet, but the citizens don't know what's going on with this.
Well, it's been a couple of weeks back. I'll try to refresh my memory here. We got a proposal from American Roads. They're interested in looking at Smith's Bridge and looking at it, determine if there's an option for them to repair or build a new bridge. If they did that, they would fund it and recoup the cost somehow through the tolls or some other means from the use of that bridge.
Why I brought this up is we're obviously going to do the testing, but if they're going to give us a new bridge, perhaps we should investigate this. At this point, they indicated they want to do a study or something. Refresh my memory, we discussed it a while back.
They'd be willing to come here to talk to city council on the options, what they perceive, how they would proceed with that.
So I think that perhaps we should go down two paths here, do the testing and see where we're at as far as that's concerned, and maybe if they're going to give us a new bridge, look at this and at least hear what they have to say. I throw that out there for the council's consideration to decide if we should pursue it or not. I just thought we should at least discuss it and see what the feeling is.
Excuse me. As much as having the bridge replaced at their expense, considering the size of the community that we live in, I see this as a fool's errand. One thing that's for sure in this community is we are Dutch and we are cheap. And if we can save ourselves $1, we'll do it one way or another. And to drive around, as we've all gotten used to at this point, it's not that big of an inconvenience, at least for me. I'll speak for myself, I'll speak for my wife. It's not a big inconvenience to me. And I think there are a lot of people out there who would feel the same way. Does it hurt to listen to somebody's presentation? Certainly not. Considering that, we need to look at all the options, that's fine, but I see this as a fool's errand at this point.
It was in our packet a couple weeks ago. I didn't feel it was financially viable. Potentially maybe for repair, but certainly not for replacement. With 6,000 cars a day, I just discounted it. So I didn't bring the material with me because I've already recycled it.
You want a copy?
I just didn't see it as being financially viable.
Realistically, I don't either, but if they want to talk and they want to make a presentation, at this point, what damage can it do to us? I mean, you know, and it may turn out for a quarter a day or quarter trip or something, maybe people, it's something worth looking at. That's all I'm throwing out there, just to, you know, give us an option.
In agreement with that, okay, council? So the directive would be to have staff reach out to them and invite them to a future council meeting?
Sorry.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Are you set with that?
I'm good with that.
All right. Then we'll move down to 7B. Discussion, take action if appropriate to approve the proposal from Fleece and Vandenbrink for $6,800 for Smith's Bridge testing and to authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign the agreement. That information was also in your packet too.
Your Honor?
Well, yep.
I would make a motion that we approve the proposal for Fleiss and Vandenbrink for $6,800.
There's a motion support. Further discussion regarding this?
I had
Your
a
Honor.
question.
Go ahead.
I noticed on here on the list of costs on the bottom, it says council presentation, $600. So does that mean that when they come and do their findings, the results of the testing, they're gonna charge us $600? I just thought that was kind of ridiculous.
That's what it appears.
Well, when people go for new business, I don't go to my clients and charge them, you know, money for a presentation, so I just thought it was a little excessive.
Yeah, Your Honor. Bear with me. I realize we put out a RFQ for bids for the testing on this. And in the process, there was some confusion with some of the people that we sent. We sent out 9 RFQs. Is it?
Mm-hmm.
And some people didn't receive them or received them but in a different account or something like that. And others expressed an interest but missed the timeline or something. Is that correct?
We sent out 9 RFPs. We mailed out 9. We received 1 response. I contacted 6 other companies or 5 other companies. Susan Tebe, who has done inspections on the bridge in the past, they moved her office across the hall or something, and the RFQ went to the old mailbox. It was not forwarded, and she found it in there the day I called her. We've had a couple firms in there. One was in your packet from Brecking Bridge, who's not interested in quoting this project. I did talk to TEG Civil. They agreed with Fleiss and Vandenbrink. Fishbeck, they called me today. They thought it was more of a testing RFQ, and that's why they did not respond to it. If they move forward, they'd be interested in working on the project. Prine and Newhoff, they indicated they really didn't have the testing equipment to do the project.
Okay, so we have one or two other firms that would be interested in this, or are we seeing no interest at all in getting or getting involved in it?
They're not interested in responding to our RFP. They're interested in the project, but not the testing so much.
Okay, my only concern in all of this is it's council's job and to do due diligence when it comes to getting any work done for the city. Case in point is the landscaping that we've been working on for 2-3 months now. And we had 2 bids come in the last time and they weren't comparative. And I asked, can we get comparative bids? And when we did, we saved $20,000 or $10,000. Or there was a $10,000 difference, I'll put it that way. And that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to find the best people to do the work for the best price. And if we don't do our due diligence and get as many RFQs as we can, we're not doing our job. So I'm concerned why there's so little interest by others in this. And is it that much of a contentious issue, or is it just no interest at all, not big enough job? I realize that's not something you can answer, but
That I have been working with MDOT, and I received, I'd like to pass out this email to council that I received from John at MDOT regarding, and his concern is in 2018, May 2018, this information's in the bridge database. The test load rating was completed, and it was at 4. Then in April of 2019, the load rating dropped to 3, which is serious, but there was no updated load rating analysis testing done on the bridge. And John has asked why we hadn't done this. We had a couple of conversations. This is just one of his emails that I had received. I guess what I'd like to do is go out for a new RFQ, reaching out to find out if we can get in, according to Fleece and Vandenbrink, it's like $800. It's pretty minimal cost to get a load rating analysis done, an updated one, so we would be able to find out with the box beams being rated at 3 being serious, is it really feasible to move forward and do anything else with it? At least give us ground to work from before we move into any additional testing.
I have a question here. I mean, second paragraph. Do you know whether there's been an updated load rating analysis since the concrete box beams were first rated 3 or serious? So were we privy to that information?
There was not a load analysis done when when Williams and Works did this in April of 2019, correct?
The Works did in 2019, yes.
Because that information's not out on in the database, and that's what we were talking with.
I would have to research more.
Okay.
I don't know.
So we've gone from a what is it? A poor rating or a 4 to a serious rating of 3. Is that my understanding here?
Yeah, that's what John was asking.
Well, number one, it's cheaper. It's $800 versus what it would be for the other testing of the box beams. And the way I read this, if the tonnage is lowered, like a 20-ton limit was placed to extend the life of the structure, but the last official low rating in our database was from 18. So if that's lower to where the state of Michigan would close it anyways, because the load wouldn't be heavy enough to carry the cars, correct? If it went down.
I don't know what the tonnage rating
Kind of
would be.
makes sense that we would do a load rating first. Well, it's just the cost savings alone, and that would tell us a lot on that.
We do need. Your Honor, this load rating, is this just mathematical calculation, or are they gonna go out and actually do physical testing?
They do a physical testing, correct? They do the load analysis.
And who does the $800 go to? Another engineering firm?
We have to go out for an RFQ if we do that, if we change it. So then possibly Williamson Work, or have Craig research and find out. But according to MDOT, there was not an updated load analysis that was out there.
So you would need a new RFQ or an amendment to the one?
I don't know.
Or should we just?
We'd have to check
Table
with
it
Susan
with
what the details were on why they dropped it from a 4 to 3. I don't recall off the top of my head why that was. As part of Fleiss and Vandenbrink's proposal, they are proposing to do a low rating analysis as part of their work. So we could ask them to do that first and report to us before we move forward with the rest.
Honor, looking through Fleiss and Vandenbrink's proposal, I'm seeing in here where part of their work plan is review the current load rating analysis on file for the structure and update it based on the test results. So it'd be a physical testing. The load rating analysis is an indication of the beam's abilities to safely carry traffic from pier to pier. So they would be doing a load testing analysis as part of their $6,800. Yeah.
I guess my question is, before we move forward with anything else, to make sure that we have adequate load rating analysis per John at MDOT.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I would see that maybe we should go with just the load rating at this time, because if the my understanding is the load rating tests all the way down to the bedrock, or the actual support. If we're gonna spend money to, before we spend money to even look at repairing the bridge, I think we need to understand that load will be carried. And that's always been my concern is whether that load, especially the added concrete that's gonna go on there, that's an added added weight as well. And if we don't have a good support structure, everything else we do is wasted money. I think we should go with we should go with a load testing first.
They broke this down into fees for individual testing and analysis here. I don't believe that they would have an objection to cherry picking the load analysis out prior to doing the destructive testing. You think that would be an factor with that, with Fleiss and as far as the engineering?
I can ask them if they would be willing to do a load rating analysis for $800 and then get back to us before we do field testing.
I think Tim's right that if the load rating isn't sufficient with the understructure to carry the load rating that we're looking for, everything else is just throwing money down a rat hole. Would you like me to amend my motion?
We're still in discussion. What is council at this point, or what's your discussion?
It won't handle the load rating we're looking for, but we already did all these other tests and we're paying $6,800 instead of $800. We don't have any idea what it's gonna say.
Your Honor, I would certainly be in favor of moving forward with the whole thing, knowing that we could do if the load testing was predicate on, should go first before everything else, I would assume that they would do that first before they would blaze forward with doing destructive testing, knowing that, hey, the bridge can't handle the load if we're gonna do any types of repairs on it. And so I'm assuming that since we're dealing with 3 professional engineers, that they would certainly look at it and make sure that the structure underneath, as Councilman O'Donnell is concerned with, can handle the load, that's what they would look at first before they would proceed with anything else. Because otherwise you're just building on a house of cards.
Your Honor. Your Honor. Yes.
At this point it is, and then you can open up for public comment additionally.
If they do come to test Friesen Vandenbrink, and can we request that they do the load test first and base the rest of their testing on the results of that load test?
Yes, we can ask them to do that.
Well, I'd be in favor of doing that.
That's what I.
So at this moment, public comment. If you want to stand up to the podium and speak your name and address, please, for the record.
Brian Butler, 16237 Suffolk. Just a thought, and again, I mentioned earlier that bridges aren't my specialty, but this load rating analysis you're speaking to seems as though it would be for the existing condition of the bridge. Now, the repairs that Flies and Vandenbrink are talking about potentially implementing would theoretically change the load rating analysis, because you're going to have improvements to other parts of the bridge that then would distribute less loading to the foundation. I think you were referring to areas down below that you're not able to see, if I'm hearing you right. So I'm just throwing that thought out there. I don't know, does MDOT go into more detail of, I don't know if you've really given a whole lot of detail on how this testing is done.
How the testing's done, he didn't explain that to me. That wasn't the discussion. His concern was before we move forward with any type of additional testing, he was wondering why we didn't have the most updated load analysis on the database that he was looking at. This was just this past week.
It just seems to me you need
And
to look at it
he's a
globally.
neutral party, kind of like you, that has no skin in the game. He's just asking these questions.
Sure. I guess I just don't understand why you wouldn't look at it globally, taking into account that there are, looking at Flies and Vandenbrink's proposal, they're proposing situations that I think you have to look at globally, live with the load testing. I don't think there's anybody in the room that would say, I think we could all guess that the load testing is going to come back not the best, but that's why the engineer is proposing to look at what other improvements can be made to
Testing
fix
phase,
the
they're
load.
not looking at any improvements at this point on this RFQ. We're only looking at the testings, the different options that they're going to do on testings to find what the state of the bridge is in at this point.
Isn't the testing going to let you know if it's economically feasible to do improvements?
Yes.
Right.
But we're
the
not
point
looking
I'm
at any
making.
of the improvements at this point. We just need to know, do we have a workable bridge to move forward with, or do we not?
Okay, I feel like that's been pretty well vetted from the discussion with the engineer already. And that's why they proposed the next steps.
Seeking additional information at this point.
Okay.
Okay,
Johnny?
yes.
Would you like me to amend my motion?
Sure.
That we, okay, I would like to approve a proposal from Fleece and Vandenbrink for $1,600 for Smith's Bridge testing, and request that load rating analysis be done prior to destructive testing. Does that cover what we were discussing?
Did you want them to report back to us prior to moving forward,
Yeah, I think we should.
or at least a report of some sort?
Yeah, some, because our concern all along has been the substructure, not necessarily the decking. You know, and from what they presented at the last, meeting they were at, is they were going to redeck it, which still doesn't alleviate the problems with the substructure. The substructure would have to factor into the load rating analysis to go forward as far as any other repairs. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
So
why don't you rephrase your motion?
tell me what you want.
Nope. Motion.
All right, to approve a proposal from Fleiss and Vanderbank for $6,800 for Smiths Bridge testing with a report on load rating analysis prior to any further testing to the city manager and city council. Does that cover it?
Okay.
Okay.
Motion support. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, moving down to 7C. Discussion and take action, if appropriate, to approve a bid from the city farmer for $20,900 for City Hall outside grounds improvements. And so this time we have information that's comparing both City Farmer and Brolinks.
Hunter?
Yes.
Craig, we received,
Well, we need a motion support. And
oh,
discussion.
okay. I move that we approve the city farmer bid for landscape work to the tune of $20,800. Is that what? $900. We spoke with city farmer, and they reviewed it and said, no, that's our bid, and we'll do it apples to apples, as it were.
Correct. So we asked for more information to clarify, we asked City Farm to clarify a few items on their bid. That information was included in your packet. So I think the big change here is the one change going from bark to stone. They're suggesting not stone because of the daycare, but pea gravel instead of bark, so.
Okay.
Any other discussion regarding this?
Craig, you have run this by the daycare, and this proposal, and they're good with it?
Right, we got with the daycare before the proposal went out.
And they're okay with the bid that came back?
They haven't seen the bid.
But the
They're okay with the plan, the proposed plan, yep.
okay. The plan we sent out for bidding.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So there's a motion support. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Moving down to discussion, take action if appropriate to approve the city sponsoring of 457 supplemental retirement program. And that's something new that's in our packet from MERS.
So this is a request from staff to have another vehicle for employees to save for retirement. Our MERS is a city's pension provider. They have a plan called the 457 Supplemental Retirement Program, where the employees can contribute to this right out of their paycheck, either Roth or post-tax, whatever they want to do. The amounts can change from month to month. Not everybody's required to participate, so it's a pretty flexible plan, and there's no cost to the city. It's just an administrative plan.
In the next few years, as people retire, that this would be a great avenue to offer to future employees.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion to accept the city sponsoring the 457 supplemental retirement program.
Support. Motion support. All those in favor stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Now we'll move down to 7E. Special recognition to Council Member Kennedy for service as council member since February 20, 2012. And if you want to join me on the front.
Do I have a choice?
No.
First of all, we have a plaque, Kathleen Kennedy, in appreciation of your service as Perrysburg City Council member. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the City Council of the City of Perrysburg expresses its sincere appreciation to Kathleen Kennedy for 7 years of dedicated service to the City of Perrysburg, and be it further.
You're up.
Yeah.
Mr. Schwab.
Baby. I'm gonna skip mine.
Pat Twine, appreciation for your service as a Perrysburg City Council member 2015 to 2019. Whereas Pat Twine informed and responsible for the city government of the past 4 years. Whereas Pat provided thoughtful leadership. As of now, therefore, let it be resolved that the Council of the City of Perrysburg expresses its sincere appreciation to Pat for 4 years of dedicated service to the City of Perrysburg. Okay, at this time, we'll move down to item 8, public comments. Yes, sir.
Roger Jonas, 16038 Harbor Point Drive. Let me just follow up on what I said earlier, and I'm glad to hear that Mr. Twa is on council till November 18th. You've got 2 more weeks. I told him I was going to write his name in tomorrow, and he said, I thought you were my friend. But anyway, I mentioned that because we have a planning commission meeting coming up on Thursday, and we're short members. We have 5 on a 7-member commission. And we've had 2 meetings this summer where we didn't have a quorum. And it's hard to get people when we have to have 4 for a quorum, whereas city council only needs a majority of whoever shows up, which is very interesting. Difference between boards and commissions and council. In other words, you could have 3 people show up and 2 would be a majority. And that's a quorum. Whereas on commissions, we have 7-member commission, we have to have at least 4 votes, 4 show up for a quorum. Anyway, might want to think about looking at that. Secondly, even cutting us down to 5 would be fine with me. We used to be 9, and we've had trouble keeping 7 on there and getting these quorums. So, given all that too, there are going to be people on the ballot tomorrow that are running for office that will not be elected. I would encourage them to apply for some of the boards and commissions of vacancies we have. There's lots of opportunities between Planning Commission and Parks and Rec, the Beautification Committee, Kitchelenquist Dunes, tons of opportunity. Planning Commission, Board of Appeals, Zoning Board of Appeals, lots of different things. So anyway, I keep it open, so there's plenty of opportunities, but I'm glad to see one more meeting, Mr. Twa. You're not done yet. And given that, let me put a plug in for Mr. Carlson, if the mayor would be so inclined to appoint somebody new to a planning commission. We could use somebody experienced, so anyway, that's my plug. That's my commercial for the day. Good luck, everybody.
Other additional public comment? Yes, sir.
Mark London, 17728 170th. First, maybe some housekeeping. You guys with your microphones are terrible. Maybe the best solution is to get clip-ons. They're always out, and it doesn't seem like half the time you can't hear it, but out here it's in, it's out. Maybe the simplest thing is just get clip-on microphones and the problem should be solved. Second of all, regarding the bridge, lots of discussion, but I guess the thing that concerns me is you haven't had a bridge builder involved in all of this. And I think it's time you do that. Get a bridge builder involved. So you get some numbers that sound accurate, not numbers tossed out by engineering or MDOT, somebody who knows. You have a lot of other things you want to do in testing, but these things can be done concurrently. Otherwise, we're going to kick this thing down the road for another year or two. I'm a big one on solutions. Get it done. Quit goofing off with it. Do the things that need to be done. Get the numbers. Get the dollars and the testing and get it over with. Decide whether you're going to fix it, get a new one, tear it down, but do it instead of, this thing could go on forever. And get dollars, real dollars, not just guesses from people who are going to have to do the work. Thanks.
Additional public comments? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move down to item number 9, report. City manager.
No report.
City council members. Mr. Blees.
I would just want to thank Councilmember Twa for his years of service, Councilmember Kennedy for her years of service. Appreciate them being on the council with us and all their time and energy they spent on the council. The next Recreation Committee meeting will be Thursday, November 14th, 5:30 p.m. Tree board following that one right after November 14th, Thursday, and a report.
Okay, in response to Lisa Royce's comments, I never tried to silence anybody. I listened to everybody. I represent all the residents of Ferrisburg, not just the most vocal. The Save the Ferrisburg Nature Reserve was by definition a special interest group. I cannot come out and support any particular group as a council member. That is inappropriate because I represent everybody. There were people that were opposed to that. Just like there are people that I've talked to that said, stop wasting money on the bridge. It's a non-issue. So you can't just take whoever yells the loudest and listen to them. They're not necessarily the majority. I've had a lot of people out there, a lot, that have come up and said, I elected you because you know what's going on and I trust you. I have saved this city lots of money. I have saved the assertion that I raised sewer rates or voted for it. Actually, the entire council voted for it. If you look at the results, most of the time I voted to not support the rates increase. So there's a lot of misinformation out there. With the bridge, almost my entire tenure here as a council member has been spent, a large majority of it, about that bridge. I know a lot about it. I've spent a lot of time on it. I've gone to talk to representatives, people that grant the grants, and I'm called a liar, that I do not know what I'm talking about. Well, I do. And again, I represent all the citizens of the city. I make the best decision based on the information I have. And there are times where I have voted against what I thought best, but was in the best interest of the people of this city. I will never, ever do anything that is unethical. That is not in my nature. A person that has a servant heart cannot do anything that is unethical. So, recently, and this is a proven point, that I have been working on the bridge. Recently, the federal government released money to the state of Michigan to fund bridges that would not normally receive funding. According to the Act 51, 25% of that money can go to secondary roads, which our bridge qualifies as a secondary road, or secondary bridge. It is through the, currently in the Highway Infrastructure Program funding. I am a member of the advisory committee to the infrastructure program funding. So the Ferrisburg does have a representative on that committee. And that goes to say a lot, because this is through the MML. The mayor does not appoint people to that position. They're selected by the board of trustees to serve on this committee. And that is a great honor to serve on that committee, and they do take our recommendations seriously at the state level. So at our meeting in December, hopefully I'll get more information on this funding. They're looking at creating a board to give out the grants. It is not an application process. It is this board that will select the bridges to receive the funding. And again, I put out a plug for the MML. The 2 new members that are coming on board after tomorrow, I encourage you to get involved with the MML. There's a lot of good training. There's a lot to running the city government. A lot more. When I got on, I thought it was going to be easy, but there's a lot to it. A lot of regulations, a lot of laws that you have to follow, and the MML will help you out. And it also has a lot of information, and I've created a lot of good friends and acquaintances through it. Pat, thank you. End of report.
I'm up. Beautification Committee is now at work on the Carol Sing, which will be in December. So that's always fun, even though it's cold. They have a big bonfire and Santa comes, and it's a lot of fun. It was a pleasure to serve the citizens of Ferrisburg, so I'm going into retirement. I want to thank this council for putting up with me through my cancer diagnosis and recovery. That I wanted to resign and they wouldn't let me. So you were very patient when I needed time. You were more than happy to give me that time. So thank you.
I'd just like to reach out to city manager. We have one of the premier bridge construction companies in the country right here in Grand Haven Township. The name is Analon. Per somebody's suggestion, could we reach out and see if they'd be interested in giving us some kind of advice or real numbers? at least reach out to them and get it on the, get us on their radar.
Yep.
A couple other things. I'd like to thank Kathy, of course, and Pat, and just to run down some of the big projects we've knocked out in the last 4 years is, we got City Hall roof, new boiler, all the lift stations are replaced and pump working properly. A lot of effort, thought, and discussion went into all the big projects we've done. One other thing that was thrown out around here was about we're over budget $230,000 or whatever. That's a falsehood. We received a grant for the North Shore project. It was put on the Facebook or whatever. I don't do that, so I don't know what it was on. They were $221,000 over budget. We actually got a grant in excess of the original grant of $286,000. So that was hockey puckies, as it were. That's it.
Councilmember Todd?
I want to first thank council as a whole for putting up with me during this 4.5 years, helping me understand how the city government works. And I want to thank Kathleen for her service as well. I thought I would write some things down and as to what I would say, and the reality is, if I could ask this council and the new council members who will be here 2 weeks from now to remember that only bad decisions are made with emotion or anger, and civility is going to be your goal. It'll be your friend. It helps stabilize your thought process. Plus, it makes this job just a bit easier when everyone is civil. We're passionate about a lot of things, and passion's good, but passion can be blinding, as I've told some others. We need to look at these things and all of the information that's available. And at times, things seem to drag on, but it's not deliberate delays. This is about getting all the information together and making wise decisions. So good luck to those new council members tomorrow, our future council members. You're going to be asked to sit on several commissions as well, and that's part of the job. I've learned an awful lot sitting on these commissions. And I've been part of the police commission, I've been part of the planning commission, the MTO as well. I went through training with the sheriff's department as well. There's a lot to know. MML also puts out a book for new council members. It's worth the read, and it takes a lot of time to stay informed on the issues here. So be of good cheer when it comes to when your first packet shows up, because it can be intimidating. But the council is here to help each other. Feel free to reach out to those. You got to do this as a team, and sometimes you're not going to agree, but you still need to get the people's work done. So I want to thank you all.
Councilmember Carlson?
Thank you so much, Kathleen and Pat, for your service. Secondly, thank you, Roger Jonas, for your public endorsement and desire for me to be serving with you on Planning Commission. I serve now presently on Kitchell Lindquist Dune Preserve Board, and we lost some 20 and 30-year members over the course of the last year, so I desire also to stay on that board as well, because there's been such a high rate of turnover on that board. Kitchen Link was Doing Preserve Board meets tomorrow night at 6:30. A lot of things going on, particularly with relationship with Ottawa Sands, the new county park. So feel free to stop in. And to report.
Past couple weeks have been busy. I attended the Key Communicators informational session with Grand Haven Area Public Schools. So I have packets for each of you guys with that. And then on the back of it is also, I serve as secretary for the Land Bank Authority. And this past week we met, and there is a new brownfield incentive program that has begun with the board. So that's additional information there. Also, last week, I did present with MDOT with the LA Bridge Advisory Board regarding Smith's Bridge. It was supposed to be a 3-minute public time that I had to talk as fast as I could to get Smith's Bridge out there. That conversation lasted over 20 minutes before I left the building. It was very informative. MDOT was at the table. There was people from all over the state that were asking very good questions. I provided them with the whole timeline with some amendments done to it. And anyways, but it was a very good conversation, and I am hoping something good's gonna come out of it because they definitely have our back on this one. And then also, thank you to Mary Jane for all of her years of service. She's retiring on Friday out of the front office. And a special thank you to Councilmember Twa and Councilmember Kennedy for your years of service on council. It's been great working with you. So that's all I have.
Motion adjourned.
Moved.
Last time you get to say that.
Support the adjournment.
She can call you and say support.
I'm already